Hello and welcome to Aussizz Group. My name is Tanvi Dutt and I am a registered migration agent, and I've got with me Nirav Patel. He's a registered migration agent as well. We have got a pretty long session for you. It's we are having a 2-hour information session and an interactive session. We have been requested that by a lot of people that they would want us to engage more, to have a longer session so that we can answer your questions directly straight away rather than putting them back in the comments. So we'll try and answer all the questions that you would have, as many as we can take, possibly in 2 hours. So I would advise you to please feel free to share this video, to like and subscribe our page so that your friends can also get benefit of this session. They should also get to know if there's something that they have in their mind, that they have confusion regarding migration. We would be happy to answer their questions also. What we'll do is, in today's session, we will have some updates. As we usually do, we'll discuss about the updates that have been happening in the industry. We will also talk about a few specific occupations, try and take up some case studies. In between, we'll keep answering your questions regarding all sort of queries you have in your migration scenario. What we'll do is we'll just have a brief discussion in the beginning, and we'll let a few more viewers to join in. So Nirav, would you like to join, add something to it? So where would we be heading in this?
Yeah. So thanks, Tanvi, for giving an information. So this session will be held for a long. We will try to answer all of your questions, and we'll try to cover almost all the topics in terms of migration perspective. And we will start initially with the recent updates which is happening in the immigration. So that will be start from the skill select invitation round result on 11 September, and there are a few updates in the regional sponsorship in the New South Wales as well. Then we will try to answer a few questions in between, and again we will go back to another topic like nursing, then teaching, and we will also discuss about the job ready program and the different skill assessment and about the different occupations as well. And as Tanvi said, that we will discuss about few case studies, so sometimes that can give an idea to our viewers that what is happening in real scenarios to all the clients. So yeah, we will start first with the skill select round. So Tanvi will share us the results for different occupations, like how many points immigration is currently inviting, and what is the waiting time, and when you can expect your invitation for your occupation. Yes, Tanvi, can you please share that?
Thank you, Nirav. So we've recently been, we have got the updates for the last invitation round, which was held on the 11th of September. Now, as expected, and as the trend has continued from the past couple of months, they have given out 2,500 invitation, which is really good. It has compensated a lot of people. It has actually given out invitations to a lot of people who have been waiting for quite some time in their relevant occupations. That has also brought down the waiting time in a lot of occupations, and some point scores have dropped as well, which is good news for many. So what I'll do is I'll start with the non-pro rata occupations. So non-pro rata occupations, as we call them, they're basically the occupations which are not high in demand. So pretty much all the occupations except for the pro rata occupations, which I'll be discussing a little later, are in this category, and then all of them are sitting at 70 points. There has been no change in the points, invitation point score for them. However, the wait time for those have dropped. So they have been inviting people. They have invited people from the 21st of July. So basically 2.5 months of waiting, pretty much, as we can call it. They have been invited. They have also invited around about 10 people for the 489 category. The wait time for that is about 2 months. Now, going to the major occupations where a lot of you would actually relate to, or you fall in that category, let's start with the accounting occupations. So we know that accounting and auditing has been sitting at 80 for a very long time. That hasn't changed. The point score has still been sitting at 80 points. Having said that, the wait period has reduced. So it has gone down. Now for the accountants in general, they have invited the people with the occupation, with accounting, they have invited people who have put in their EOIs around the 25th of May. So round about the end of May. Whereas for auditing, it's from the beginning of May. All the applications or the expression of interest that were put in the beginning of May have been invited. So we're looking at a decreased wait time for the accounting. Now electronics engineering, it's good news for them. The point score has gone to 70 from 75. So that's something that a lot of people would also be eligible, or they would have qualified. They've already got 70 points in waiting, but then they have invited people who have put in a profile around November last year. So fair bit of a wait, but at least they have started picking up the profiles with 70 points. That's good news. Now looking at the other major engineering occupations such as industrial production, mechanical engineering, again the point score has gone to 70. Now they have been inviting people who and the wait time is about 9 months for all those occupations. The people about 70 points who have put in their profile in January have been invited in this round. Let's talk about the IT now. IT occupations. Software engineering, which was last round, it was sitting around 70, has gone back up to 75. Having said that, they have been inviting people from August, so the wait period is just around about less than a month for the 75 points applicants for software engineering. And for business analysts, again, it's the end of May. Applications have been invited, again sitting at 75. Good news for networking applicants, computer networks and systems engineer, all the computer network professionals. The point score has dropped to 70. So if your point score is around 70 and you put in your profile around January, you probably would have been invited, or else you probably should be expecting an invitation anytime soon, probably in the next round. So looking at the whole trend, it has continued in favor of the applicants. A lot of point scores have dropped. The wait time has been reduced. I would suggest, if you haven't put in an EOI thinking that you might not have enough point score, you should definitely do that, because you don't know how the immigration is going to take up the next round. That probably could go in your favor. So unless you're there, you would not be able to get invited. If you haven't done that, you can come see us, and then we'll be able to at least guide you through your process of expression of interest, and then thereafter as well. But then I would suggest, don't delay it. Put your expression of interest in straight away. Now what I'll do is I'll have Nirav discuss some more updates that have happened in the migration industry, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, thanks, Tanvi. So I hope everyone understood the recent invitation round for the skill select, and you can plan your expression of interest lodgement accordingly and try to get higher points. If you are struggling with your invitation, with lesser points, then definitely if there is more invitation or more waiting time, then it's better to increase your points so that you can get the invitation earlier. So now we will discuss about the regional sponsorship updates from New South Wales for different regional areas, and we will also discuss about the Western Australia update for the 190 and the 489 category, which they have recently opened. So certainly, for the 489 regional sponsorship in New South Wales, it's not a good news for most of the applicants, because nowadays they are trying to remove few of the occupations from most of the regional areas. So particularly if you start from northern inland in New South Wales, so they remove the occupation registered nurse in surgical, then cook, which is major occupations for most of the applicants, safe as well. So they remove safe. So even if you're doing the job ready program, you're planning to apply for the 489, there might be less options available later on. Then they remove structural engineer, which is part of civil engineering studies. So civil engineering was open in Orana, but Orana is currently not available. So alternative occupation was structural engineer, but the northern and Inland already also removed that one. So apart from that, they also removed construction project manager, then engineering manager, and geotechnical engineer. So these were the occupations which were removed from the northern inland 489 regional area. Apart from that, RDA regional area from Orana is still not available. So they may open at any time after they assess the existing applications. But they might change the occupation list, they might change the requirements in the future. So that was for the Orana. And for Murray, so that is also in the New South Wales regional area. So particularly, we just noticed that for registered nurse in all the occupation in the Murray, they made a statement on the website that before making an application with them, they should contact with the Murray region, So they didn't specify what they want to discuss with an applicant actually for that occupations. But definitely if you're planning to make an application, it's first better to speak with the Murray region. Then only you can apply for the state like regional sponsorship in Murray for all registered nurse occupation. Apart from that, like there is also an update for the Riverina regional area in New South Wales. So they have also removed few of the occupations like agriculture technician, which was like available for a longer time, and the people who worked in like agriculture industry in laboratory or something, dairy technicians, they can apply for this category, but they already removed this one, and I think there are no other states or regional sponsorship quite easily available for these occupations. And they also remove motor mechanics, which is also one of the major occupations for most of the applicants nowadays. So if you are planning to apply for the motor mechanic like regional sponsorship and all that, you must be careful and meet all the requirements like for the regional area which they are available. Apart from that, they also remove production or plant engineer, which was like part of the engineering in like mechanical and all that. And they removed all registered nurse occupations and SEF as well. So as I discussed for all the occupations in this regional area, so it seems that like they are removing the quite popular occupations like safe, cook, registered nurse from their list. So they might have already got their skilled person in the regional area, but it's not like that they will not add it later on as well. If they require more skilled person in this occupations category, definitely they will invite or they will update their occupation list, and they will like seek migrants from different cities in their regional area. So this was the case for the regional areas in New South Wales. Now we will update, we will start to give an update about the Western Australia state sponsorship. So actually that's a good news for the people or just students living in Western Australia. So there was no state sponsorship available quite a few like before a long time. But now they have updated the list. They have updated the list for the graduate stream. So that is like if you have studied over there, there will be an option available for you in the regional or the state sponsorship application. There are a few occupations in the medical group as well, which are available for applicants living outside of Western Australia, but there are very less occupation in that category. But if you have studied over there like bachelor, master or PhD, and if you have higher points, if you have like higher English score, or if you have an experience, then definitely you can like get an invitation in the 190 or 489 category. They require 1 year of experience for the bachelor graduates, but they have an exemption for the master and the PhD graduates like for the 1 year of experience. But definitely they require a job offer later, even after getting an invitation from the Western Australia. So it's actually good because there was no options available before in Western Australia. Now at least if you have an experience, if you have studied over there, and if you have a job in your field, you can get your skill nomination easily from Western Australia. So this was an update about like the regional sponsorship in New South Wales and the Western Australia state nomination. Now as we discussed, like we will start answering your questions. Then again we will come to another topic which can be anything nursing, teaching or trade occupations. So that's we will discuss later on, but let's start answering the questions, Tanvi.
All right, let's go with the questions. So Nirav, first question is from Anthony Dinesh. He's saying, I've applied 189 with 70 points in August in civil engineering. Will I be getting the invitation this month or next month? Anthony, we've just discussed the wait time is a little bit longer. So if you applied last month, you probably might have to wait a fair bit. But you definitely have a good point score to possibly get invited, because at the moment that is something that they're looking to invite the civil engineers with. So yeah. So
next question we are having from Amrinder, and he's asking us about like the chances to get the invitation as a registered nurse in Victoria and New South Wales, like as a recent graduate for 65 points. So in New South Wales particularly, they usually invite at like higher points. So they most likely invited 70 plus 5 points from the state, so they require 75 points. Now in Victoria as well, they have updated their procedures from like 10th of September. Previously, if you have a job offer later, if you have studied here and if you are a recent graduate, you can straight away get the invitation with 65 points. But now you must need to apply for the expression of interest. If they like require an applicants, then they will pick who have higher points, and the job offer later they will invite only those people. So there might be few applicants who are having more than 65 points as well in Victoria. So Amarinder might need to wait longer time to get the invitation for Victoria in New South Wales. But definitely they can try, like he can try for 489 regional sponsorship in New South Wales.
Yeah, there are still some available. So it's I know it's a bit of a setback for a lot of people with New South Wales for taking out a lot of occupation in 489. But there are plenty available. So make sure that you go see a migration agent. You can come see us so that we can actually advise you to put in the correct EOIs at the right place so that you can get invited sooner rather than missing out the chance. The next question I've got is from Prab Kaur. She's saying, I've just completed my MPA. Can you please give me some suggestions on what can I do? Now, Prab, MPA would basically lead you to couple of occupations. There are a few more, but mainly the most popular occupations would be the accountant general or the external auditor. Now, both of those occupations, as we've discussed earlier in the session, are sitting at 80. Good thing is that the wait period is being reduced with the number of invitations. A lot of invitations are being given out. So I would suggest if you would want to stay in Victoria, if you're in Victoria or New South Wales as well for that matter, you would have to have your point score brought up to 80 points. Now for that you would be looking at getting 8 bands each from your PTE or IELTS score. So 20 points from there. You possibly will have to sit the NATI exam as well, the CCL NATI, that will give you 5 points. If possible, try and gain the 1 year experience and then try and see if you can manage to get partner points. If you think you can't meet up to the 80 point score, then I would suggest during your 485 period, you would be better off moving states, going to either Northern Territory or Tasmania and trying to work 6 months in your relevant occupation, and then you possibly will be able to get invited in 190 or 489 depending on whichever criteria you meet for a lower score of 55 or 60 points. But then you probably should be looking at moving along with the rest of your family. Everybody will have to move.
Yeah, so next question we are having from Hussein Mohammed. He's asking us about like having 60 points in electrical engineering in New South Wales or accounting with 70 points with 3 months experience in New South Wales. So for accounting, as like already Tanvi discussed about, like you need to have a higher points to get an invitation for the 189, or like if you have a lesser points, then definitely you need to move to other states like Tasmania or Northern Territory so that you can be eligible for their state or regional sponsorship after studying over there or after working over there. There was a regional sponsorship available in the Central West and the Orana for the accounting, but they are currently closed and they required 6 months experience, but still you have 3 months experience. So if you work more and if they reopen it in the Orana, you can apply for the Orana regional sponsorship as well in the future. While 60 points as an electrical engineer is still same, so you need to have 70 points to get an invitation for the 189 skill independent visa. For 489, the electrical engineers was open in Orana around July 2018 this year, but after that they have removed the occupation. So now there are only options available in Tasmania and Darwin, which is same as an accounting. So it's better for you to try to increase your points to 70 for electrical engineer so that you can get straight away an invitation for the 189 skill independent visa.
Correct. Prabkar is again asking professional year or NATI for PR. So yes, Prabkar, if you do professional year, again you'll be getting 5 points through that. So if you are aiming to score 80, like I suggested earlier, you would have to explore every single avenue and try and gain as much points as you can possibly get from every source. Now, having said that, if you think that you would want to have another option, if you have studied something different from accounting in the past, since you're doing masters, so you possibly would have done your bachelor's, you may as well want to come and get that assessed and see if there's another occupation coming out of your previous studies or your experience if you've had earlier. If not, and you have time on your 485 left and you can manage to fit in some additional occupation or qualification, I should say, then you can probably study some trade, or you can study teaching, nursing, depending on whatever your previous background is, and then if you can relate to that, that could possibly open another pathway for you. So there's no harm in having two options open for you if one is a little difficult to get.
Yeah. So next question is from Nitin Jaiswal. He's asking us about like what are the least point requirement to get an invitation for the 190 New South Wales, particularly in non-pro-rata and specifically in civil engineering. So if your occupation is in the non-pro-rata, then 189 skill independent, like they invited 70 points. So usually what happens, let's say if you are having a 70 points, then there are applicants who apply 189 as well, at the same time 190 as well in the New South Wales. So that might be the reason that for the 190 New South Wales will be always having 5 points extra than the 189 skill independent points requirement for the non-pro-rata occupation. So as for 189, they're inviting at 70 points for the civil engineer. So they may invite for civil engineer in New South Wales at 75 points. But there are few occupations which might not be, there might not be many applicants in those categories. And in those categories, they might invite at 65 as well for the New South Wales, even after having the 70 points in 189 skill independent visa. For example, in a medical practitioner fields or another like trade occupations category. So there are a few occupations which can get the invitation at 65, but particularly for civil engineering, they will invite at 75 points.
Yes, that's right. So the next question we've got, Nirav, is from Idu Rioto Reo. Now sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong, but the question says, there was no skilled occupation list in July. Worried about the flagged occupations. Can we expect any updates in January 2019? They've pretty much kept the same occupation list. They've only changed the ceiling. That means the number of seats have been changed a little bit for a few occupations. Now regarding any updates coming in January, usually they don't give out updates around that time, but they can most definitely come out and take away a few occupations or else just move them around in the different lists. But then they do not give us any heads up before they do that. It'll come when it kind of comes in, we'll definitely share that with you. But just having said that, if you have an occupation which you are eligible for, I would suggest that you should not delay, and then you should put your expression of interest, put your application through straight away. Because if it gets taken out of the list tomorrow, then you would have already missed the boat.
Yeah, so now we are attending the question for Neha Sharma. So she asked that she lodged a 489 family sponsorship with 80 points as an accountant in April this year. So she is confused that there are people who might got the invitation at 80 points who lodged the UA after that as well, and why she didn't get it. So there are like certain criteria or certain factors why she didn't get it, because the 80 points which is showing on the immigration website for the skill select 489 invitations family, that are only for the non-pro-rata occupations. So accountant, as like Tanvi already mentioned before, that's in the pro-rata occupations. And if your occupation in the pro-rata, then immigration will give first priority for the all 189 skill independent visa for that occupation. Once they don't have anyone left for the 189 independent visa, then they will start to invite with the 489 family sponsorship category. So that is the reason you didn't get the invitation even after having 80 points in 489 family sponsorship. So we suggest that you should not wait for the invitation for the 489 family. It's better for you to try to get extra points or try to apply for other regional or state sponsorship if you are eligible for it.
We've got a question from Sukhpreet. Sukhpreet wants to know if there's any masters in hospitality. I think usually it's masters of business administration people would do. Is there anything else that is there?
There might be a masters in hotel management. Yeah, master in hospitality might be there, but as like it might not be as useful as like you're doing a trade qualification in hospitality. Correct. Because there are very less options available based on hotel or motel manager. So it's better for you to try to go for a diploma or certificate 3 and 4 in commercial cookery. Correct. And based on that trade qualification, you can apply for the PR easily compared to like studying the master in hospitality.
Especially with these occupations sitting at a lower skill level. So they do not require to do, they're not required to have a master's to actually qualify for a PR. If you're aiming to get that done for the purpose of permanent residency, then you possibly will qualify with your certificate level qualification, diploma, or even bachelor's for some of the occupations. You may as well want to see an education agent or a migration agent before you actually jump into that, because master's is a lot of commitment, a lot of money as an international student.
Yes. So our next question is from Husnain Arshad. He asked us about like studying in the regional area, or he should stay in the Melbourne or Sydney as an international student. So Husna, it actually depends on what study you are doing and what occupation you have. So let's say if you are studying something like nursing or engineering or occupations which are in the non-pro era, and if you are capable enough of getting 8 score and do it professionally or get an experience or do NATI, then you can stay here. You can apply for the PR based on studying here in Melbourne or Sydney. But if your occupation falls under like IT or accounting, which require like 75 to 80 points, and if you don't, if you're not feeling comfortable, if you can't achieve higher point score in that occupation, then definitely it's a good option for you to move to regional area. It can benefit in 2 ways. Like one, it will give you extra 5 points for studying in the regional area. It will also give a benefit of like getting a regional sponsorship from Tasmania or from Darwin after studying over there easily, which is not possible in Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah, that's right. So moving states, especially going to Tasmania or Northern Territory, absolutely could be beneficial. Even if you can meet up to the high point score, you'll still have another option open for you. I've got the next question is from Noor. Noor wants to know how many points for nursing to apply for PR. Now Noor, nursing is also one of the non-pro-rata occupations as we discussed earlier. So it's sitting at 70 points at the moment. So 70 for 189. If you have 70 point score, then you possibly are looking at about 2.5 months of a wait period after putting your expression of interest. That's where it sits at the moment. Hopefully the wait period may be reduced with more number of invitations given out next month. Having said that, if you're looking at New South Wales 190, you should still be aiming at 70 because they would want to invite you with the high points. So they basically go by the merits, and more or less Victoria is following suit after that change that they have introduced on the 10th of September. So you possibly are looking at aiming at least 70 points for any of these categories available. However, 489 would still require you to have a lower point score, around about 55, unless the region requires you to have a higher point score for that occupation. So you may as well want to come see us, and we can advise you according to your situation what would be the most suitable option available for you with your point score.
Yeah, so next question is from Aussizz Ahmed. I think it's a similar question as previously that he's asking us about like studying in the hospitality degree. So as we already mentioned, that it's better to study trade qualification in hospitality compared to a degree or bachelor or master. Let's say if you want to make a career in that field, and you can study, but definitely from migration perspective, you must need to get an experience in like as a hotel and motel manager, and you must meet the requirement of any state or regional sponsorship available for that occupation. So you must be ready with that if you're planning to study that bachelor or master in hospitality.
Correct. Nirav, let's just take a break from the questions and talk about. I've just got this thing in my mind because people want to know a lot about the points.
Yes.
Maybe let's just talk about all the ways they can actually gather points from, and what is the possibility for them to
increasing the points.
Yeah, correct,
definitely,
correct.
because most of the people usually stuck with like having 5 or 10 points list.
Correct. Yes.
Always happen like that. So when you're struggling with that, then you need to see like what occupation you falls under, what are the minimum points criteria, and how much points you already gain, and what are the options available for you to gain extra point.
Correct.
So let's say if assume that like there is a client who are having occupation as an accountant. Now they already got 70 points with 8 each, and they studied here, and their age is like between 25 to 32. So the perfect points will be 70 without doing anything, without doing professional year, NATI or experience. But if you want to get higher points, definitely you can try to increase the points by doing a professional year. If you have 1 year of time left on your visa, that can increase your points by 5. They can also do the NATI, CCL, which is like interpreting exam. So that's also nowadays easier compared to previously. So that can also help them to get 5 points extra. Then if they have studied in the regional, or if they're planning to study now, then they should study in the regional, so that can also benefit you for 5 more points later on as well. So, apart from that, like they can get 1 year of experience as an accountant, even part-time, 20 hours per week. That's all right. So if they work for part-time for 1 year, they can get 5 points. There is an also opportunity for them to get 5 points through partner skills. So if your partner is like less than 45 years old, if they have a skill assessment from medium and long-term skill assessment, if they got 6 each, they can get 5 points. So accountants should think up like this to increase their point. So similarly, like Tanvi how the non-product occupations can get like extra points to reach to 70 points.
Yes.
What do you think? Because most of the non-product occupations, they don't try to get 8.
Yes.
They
think that
if they get
we don't
7, yeah, they think that they don't need it.
Yes.
If they get 7, then like this stuff, that's it. These are enough. Now we will wait for the invitation.
Correct.
So what's your views on that?
I agree with you completely on that, Nirav. I've also seen a lot of clients thinking, okay, 7 would be enough for us, so they don't even try and actually reach to the 8-point score. See, the thing is that at this point in time, immigration's very, it's not stable. Thank you. It's not stable. So the point score has been going up and down as we've seen lately. We don't know what course it's going to take in coming December. Maybe the pro-rata occupation point score may increase like it was sitting at 75 earlier. So there's no harm in having additional 10 points, 5 points, wherever and howsoever you can get for all the sources that Nirav had mentioned. Please do not think that 7 would be enough for you, or you do not need professional year, or you don't need the CCL NATI. These things are definitely going to add to your profile, and then what's the harm in doing them, having additional points and getting invited maybe in the next round possibly, because usually we've seen the cases where if the occupation is sitting at 70 and then the applicants got higher points score like 75 or 80, they get invited immediately next month.
Yeah.
So eventually we don't have to spend the whole 485 period on a TR, the whole 2 year, and then think of going for your PR. Why not plan it from day one? And moreover, if some of the people, like, we've seen cases where people are losing points in age. They're either not turned 25 or they have already turned 33. So based on that, it is always better that you don't cling to the metro cities like Sydney and Melbourne for that matter, and try and go to the regional states, like try and go to Northern Territory and Tasmania, most popular ones at the states, because they have been really generous in giving out invitations with the point score, because they would want people to come in and live there. And eventually, once you have your permanent residency, then you have no restrictions on staying anywhere in particular states. You can move around, you can come back to Melbourne, but it'll be better than staying on a TR or going back on a student visa and staying temporary for 4, 5, 10 years. Also, we've seen cases where people have been changing extended their visas, and then they get refused the visas and they're going through MRT. You don't have to do that. Please do not think that your point score should be enough if you're meeting the exact bar, that is the exact point score that the government has set for the time. It can go up anytime, the wait period can increase anytime, and then your visa might expire and then you might not have got the invitation. So I think they should most definitely explore CCL. We've recently introduced a CCL app as well, CCL tutorials. So you should definitely go and explore that and see if that's something that you would want to pursue. You can come see us. We've got expert PT trainers, we've got CCL trainers here as well now. So at least come and have a word with a migration agent. I think that 1 hour that you would spend with a migration agent in the beginning, that will save you a lot of time and money as well in future, and possibly get you a PR a lot sooner than you're planning, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct, Tanvi. So I would also like to say a few information that is like not related to PR, but related to temporary graduate 485 visas.
Yes.
So like there are students who might think that it's very easy to get the 485 after studying, and they apply it by themselves. There is no harm to apply by yourself, but it's always better to get an expert advice before applying for your visa, because there are few things which are not mentioned appropriately on immigration website might be, and you might misunderstood that and apply for your visa without thoroughly understanding of all the legal requirements for the 485. And because of this small mistake, you can get a rejection, and you might not able to get the TR again. So you will waste that time, and that can create so many problems in future as well. So as we get so many cases like that, there are a few applicants who do not get the TR or get a refusal in the TR because they didn't apply for the Australian Federal Police clearance before applying their visa. So they just try to fill the application. They are in the application, immigration asks that, did you apply for Australian Federal Police clearance? Simply yes or no. If you put no, then they will straight away reject it afterwards if you didn't apply it before. So the students might not aware that how complicated or what will be the consequences of answering these questions.
Just bear with us. We've just got to see if the There's an interruption. That's just if the video is working. Bear with us. Let's refresh it. I think it's interrupted.
Yeah, let's just see with the technical.
Let me just go and have a look.
Yeah, sure.
Reconnecting. What happened? What reconnect?
वो आ जाएगा. Trying to go live वो आ जाएगा.
छोड़ो अब है ना लाइव नहीं चला.
वो इंटरनेट कनेक्शन.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so we were discussing about the 485 refusals because of the silly mistakes done by the applicants.
Correct.
So the one of the reason, as I told you, it's about like Austrian Federal Police Clearance Certificate. So that's actually not a big deal to get it and apply or get a successful outcome for that. But it's matter of when you get it and when you upload it into the immigration application. So there are other ways as well that your 485 might get refused. I think Tanvi got recently a case of like closely related studies for the graduate work stream.
Yes.
So can you please share it with our
Sure.
viewers, Tanvi?
Yes, thank you, Nirav. I've had a case where the applicant had been, she had lodged her application in the wrong stream of 485. Now, as you possibly would be aware, that there are two streams under which you can apply for your 485. There's a graduate work stream, and then there's a post-study work stream as well. What had happened is that she had done Cert 3, Cert 4 in commercial cookery. Then she did her diploma and advanced diploma in hospitality. Now her bachelor in that scenario was in hospitality management.
Yes.
So she had put in her application under graduate work stream and had attached the provisional skill assessment which is required for the graduate work stream. But she was denied the visa. The visa was refused because the provisional skill assessment that was attached, that was related to the study or the occupation that she had completed more than 6 months ago. So now there are a lot of things that we have to keep in mind when we are putting in this application. That is why Nirav was advising you, though it's better that you actually consult someone just to be sure that you're going in the right stream, you're going in the right category of 485, and you're putting in all the documents that are required. I understand that with the exposure nowadays, a lot of people are capable of doing a lot of their applications on their own. But that one slip can actually cost you a lot. And we've seen that TR coming back from a refusal of TR is really difficult.
It's very difficult because when like you get a refusal in the TR, that is mostly because of our mistake, like the applicant's mistake, not because of the immigration mistake.
Correct.
Like on the other side in the student visa, that is because of the genuine temporary entrant criteria.
Yes.
That can be satisfied later on as well if you meet certain requirements. But in the temporary graduate visa, it will be very less chance to get it approved from the MRTA and get it back on track. So you'll have very less options available after that. So it's always better to get an expert advice before applying. We are not saying that you should come to Aussizz, but just at least get an advice and then apply, because it's all about your future.
Correct.
Yeah. So now we should answer a few questions, Tanvi, as like we've got so many questions now.
Okay, I think the next question is for Husnain Arshad.
And I think
should we move?
Yeah, let's see, because most of the questions we have answered. So yeah, from here, from Rakib, yeah.
Okay, Rakib Hassan saying any hope for Canberra 190. They have been thinking about it, but they haven't made any changes yet. The occupations in the closed lists are still there. So at the moment there is no chance for them to have anything for the occupations that are in the closed list. But what Canberra government or the representatives have advised us is that they are actually having a sitting, like a meeting about the fact how they should be giving out the invitations. So there is a chance that they might put a few occupations back in the open list, but at the moment it's still the same. There's no change that we actually have to share with you at this stage.
Yeah, so next question we are having is from Salman Hussain. He's asking us about like citizenship application. So that's actually a different question we are getting it, because most of the people are having a question about their permanent residency.
Yes.
Now he's actually at next level. So
lucky guy. Yeah?
So lucky guy. So like as you said that like if you want to apply for the citizenship in Australia, you need to have like 4 years of residency requirements total. And so that's 4 years actually start from the first date when you come in Australia on a legal visa. And during that 4 years, if you spend 1 year as a permanent resident holder, and you must not have been lived outside of Australia for more than 12 months in last 4 years. That is one of the requirement. And you must not have lived more than 90 days in last 1 year of permanent residency. So we cannot, like if you completed 4 years without a permanent residency, and after that if you live 6 months more and then combine those periods to get a citizenship, that's not actually the right way, Salman. So you must need to complete at least 1 year on a permanent residency and total 4 years in Australia. So once you meet these two requirements, if you have not lived outside of Australia, as I told you earlier, then we can definitely apply for your citizenship application. And currently the waiting time for the citizenship is like around a year almost, because the last year the immigration stopped giving an appointment for all the citizenship applicants. But now they I think hired more employees,
yes.
yeah, for clearing
the
backlogs and all that. So yeah, but I would suggest someone to wait for once you meet the requirement of like 4 years total and 1 year on permanent residence.
Yes, so shouldn't be too long. Now that reminds me of a question that I actually got asked yesterday regarding citizenship. So if you know how you would qualify for citizenship, now Nirav explained that. The question was that if I'm already a citizen and if I have to go offshore and say somebody's studying in some other country for 5-6 years, they were not sure if they're going to lose the citizenship or what would be the situation. So just to share it with the viewers, if you are in that situation and if you're thinking of going offshore for a little longer, citizenship is one thing that you don't have to worry about losing. Once you get the citizenship, you can stay offshore, but you'll still maintain your citizenship, so there's no issue. Just the passport is something that they'll have to.
That's actually good, because this topic reminds another question, which can be like, there are people who apply for the citizenship,
yes,
and then they travel overseas.
Yes.
So that is a questionable. Let's say if you apply for the citizenship and if your waiting time is like 1 year, but if you go overseas and spend 6 months during that 1 year, the immigration might refuse your citizenship based on the genuine reason that you are not a genuine resident in Australia. Your sole purpose was to apply for the citizenship and then go back to your country.
Right.
So if you're planning to travel for a longer time, it's better to travel after you get the citizenship, not during the application of the citizenship.
Absolutely, and that's safer. You wouldn't have to worry about losing your citizenship then. Next question
is from Lalin Aishan, and it is about like lodging in a UI. So he has 70 points as a civil engineer, and he lodged his EOI on 25th of July. So I think we all said the details that for the 25th, for the civil engineering, which is in the non-pro occupations, immigration invited up to 25th June 2018 this year, and the waiting time for your EOI might be around a month. So there is a possibility that you can get the invitation on this 11th October round if they invite more applicants. Or not invite more applicants, but like nowadays what immigration is doing, they're allocating the percentage of total invitation either to a non-pro-rata or either to the pro-rata occupations. So if this time they invite more non-pro-rata occupations, then there is a chance that you can get the invitation.
Yes. Now Rahil Bhagat has asked a question. Says I'm on 489 visa, so may I get invitation for 190 and 189 visa? Rahil, if you put in an EOI in a way that you can definitely get invited, so it hasn't been used for your 489, then most definitely you should be able to get an invitation if you have reached you met the criteria with the point score and the wait time has been covered. So most definitely yes, you can.
Yeah, so next question is about like processing time for the 489 visa. So 489 visa is currently taking around 7-8 months. So there is usually no change in the processing time if your case officer allocated earlier or at later stage of after lodging the applications. But it's like when the case officer allocated, if they ask the documents, if you provide the documents, if the case officer check the applications like quickly, then you can get the visa earlier. Otherwise, like you need to wait a longer time, like as per their average standard processing time for the 489.
Yes. So Sanjan Kapoor has got a question. Says, how long is the wait for non-pro rata data occupation with 70 points? 70 points. EOI was lodged in July. If it's lodged in July, there is a chance if they keep going the same way, and as Nirav has discussed, if the next round is more towards the non-pro rata occupation, there is a chance that you might get invited next month, or if not, probably by November, 11th of November, I'd say.
Yeah, so thanks, Ria, for appreciating our efforts, like for doing this one. That's actually for everyone to get an update about recent scenarios and all that. So the next question we are having is from Husnain Arshad. So he's asking us about like studying of bachelor in early childhood. So it's coming new things here, like as a teacher occupation. So you can get your permanent residency as well if you have studied bachelor of early childhood. But there are certain requirements for the skill assessment, and that occupation actually is in the non-pro occupations. So you can get the invitation at 70 points. But for the skill assessment, you must need to have 4 years study total, and out of that 4 year study, 1 year study should be in teaching. So that's, you can meet the requirement with, I think, bachelor of early childhood if it's total 4 years. And that study should at least include 45 days of training as well, because that is a mandatory requirement for the skill assessment. Now, if you have studied the 4 years in Australia, then you can get an exemption for the English language test in AITSL. Otherwise, there is like very high requirements for the AITSL, which is like IELTS academic 8 overall and the 7 each. So in the listening and speaking, you must need to get 8, and in writing and reading, you must need to get 7 to get an assessment. And for the teaching, actually we have a seminar tomorrow at our office in Melbourne. So if you have like more questions, or if you have any doubts for your study or like teaching still, you can come tomorrow between 1 to 3 at our city office, so that you can get more idea about the teaching of permanent residency, and also about different courses available in different universities, particularly for the Bachelor of Early Childhood.
Yes. So we'll welcome you tomorrow for this this seminar. You can have all your questions answered for all the teaching queries you have. So let's move on to question from Swarandeep. Swarandeep wants to know if there's any chance to get invitation for network engineer at 70 points in Victoria. If yes, then how long wait period do they have to have? 70 points is a good score provided you have the number of years of experience. It depends on how many number of years of experience you have. If yes, then you possibly will get invited with 70 points for sure.
Yeah, but actually she might be asking about, you know, the procedure recently changed for the 190 Victoria.
So the job offer part.
Yeah, the job offer, like even after getting an invitation, like you must need to have a job offer for Victoria.
Correct.
But as like Victoria didn't start to invite after 10th of September, most likely for most of the occupations. So we can't predict when you can get the invitation. So until like they will not start for all the occupation, because they are still assessing the application which is lodged around July and August.
Yes.
So once they will finish all of those applications, then they will start to invite after 10th, like application lodged after 10th of September. And then you can apply for the state nomination. That can again take 12 weeks. So that might be a long process, around like 6-7 months total. But for the prediction, you must need to wait once like they will start to invite actual, even with 75 or 80 points for the IT applicants.
Yes, that's correct. So
yeah, so next question is from Anil George, and he studied Master of Mechanical Engineering, and he would like to apply for the PR based on that. So you must have, I think, studied a Bachelor in Mechanical Engineering as well. So you can get a skill assessment as a mechanical engineer. That can help you to apply for the 189 skill independent visa, like with 70 points, which was previously 75. So they reduced to 70, and the waiting time is quite longer for the 70, because last year immigration invited very less applicants for like around 6 months. So if you get 70 points, you can get the invitation next 6-7 months most likely. But if you don't have a 70 points, then you can apply for the Victoria State nomination as well as an engineering technologist. But as it's the same thing, that we need to apply for the expression of interest. And if you have a job offer later, if they invite you, then you can get the invitation for the Victoria.
Correct. So the question from Vandana is how many points for secondary school teacher? So it's a non-pro-rata occupation.
Yes.
So it's still it's also sitting at 70 point score. So try and aim 70 or at least 75, and if not 75, at least 70 points. Then you possibly will be looking at getting invited in probably a couple of months with the way scenario is going.
Yeah, so the next question is from Jagdeep Pal, and she's asking us about like Bachelor of Nursing. So like you need to have minimum, like not minimum, like minimum 65 points, but like around 70 points to get the invitation earlier compared to 65. But if you have lesser points, as we advised you earlier, that you can also apply for the state nomination or any regional sponsorship available. But if you're targeting for the 189 skill independence specifically, you must need to have like at least 70 points to get the invitation in like next 2-3 months.
Correct. Skandar Mirza says 80 points in accounting for 189. What is the date of effect? With the date of effect of 21st of August. When should I expect the invitation? So if it goes the same way it's going, at the moment they are inviting people who've lodged their EOIs around the end of May. So June, July, August, September, about 3 months of wait that they had, 3 months. If it keeps going and you put it in August, then possibly around November or December that you should be expecting your invitation.
Yeah, so Gautam Sri is asking us about like explanation for the Western Australia state nomination criteria. So as we discussed earlier as well, but we will repeat that as well. So Western Australia is like currently open for the graduate stream mainly. So if you have studied over there your bachelor, master or PhD, if you have higher points, higher English and more number of years of experience, then they can invite you for the state nomination application. After the invite for the state nomination application, you need to provide a job offer letter, and you must need to have at least 1 year of experience as well in your nominated occupations when you're making an application. Otherwise, even after getting an invitation for the state application, they can reject the state application. So before applying for the expression of interest, as I told you, you must need to have 1 year of experience and a job offer later, so that you can get the invitation easily for the Western Australia.
Next question I've got is from Shobha. Shobha wants to know about relative family. So 489 family sponsored in accounting at 75 points. Now Shobha, it depends if 75 points includes the 10 points for the 489. If that's the case, then I would say 75 is low score. However, if you've got 75 of your own and then you're getting 10 additional points from family sponsored, then you possibly might have a chance. But as Nirav had discussed earlier as well, for another question, that when it comes to the pro-rata occupations like accounting, immigration usually prefers to give them give preference to 189 above the 489. So they'll see if they don't have any more applicants getting invited for the 189. That's the only time that they'll be looking at moving towards the 489, which I would say with the trends that we're seeing possibly might not be a very good chance with accountants already waiting with 80 points. So I'd suggest try and improve your get your score higher to 80 and aim for 189 rather than 489 family sponsor.
Yeah, so we are getting a question from Amir Khan Durrani. He's asking us about like having 70 points in industrial engineering occupation. So I think that's a part of mechanical engineering group as well. And currently they're inviting at 70 points. But the waiting time is like around 9 months for the almost 9 months, because they have invited up to 18 January for the 70 points applicants. So if you have applied in June, you might need to wait for another like 5 to 6 months, or you can say 5 to 6 invitation round to get an invitation.
Okay, next question. Now this question is coming again and again and gets asked a lot. It's by Muhammad Mustafa. Muhammad wants to know how long would they have to wait for an invitation if they are under the occupation of auditing or accounting with 75 points. Now unfortunately, Muhammad, at the moment there are so many applicants with 80 points. There is a very less chance that you might get any invitation. You might expect an invitation at 75 points. I would see it's more towards getting your EOI expired probably before you get invited. So I'd say probably target to score higher. Hopefully if they give invitations to accounting more than other occupations, then that possibly might give you a chance. But 75 score might not be enough. If you don't think that you'll be able to go up to the 80 point score, I'd say you should definitely think of moving to either Northern Territory or Tasmania, and then probably meet the study requirement over there or the work requirement, which is 6 months of work, mostly in your relevant occupation. Then that possibly will have you'll have a brighter chance over there rather than waiting for the 189 invitation with 75 points.
Yeah, so next question is from Lalin, and he's asking us about to answer his previous question. So actually he asked about like having the 70 points as a civil engineer, and he lodged his EOI on 25th July 2018. So it's in the non-pro rata occupation, and the current waiting time is like around 3 months for the non-pro rata occupations, and immigration has invited up to like 15th of June might be for the non-pro rata occupation. So there will be a very good chance that you can get the invitation, but it might take 1 or 2 invitation route. We can't guarantee that you might get the invitation on 11th of October, but there is a possibility as well that it can go up to 11th of November as well.
Yes. Okay, Sandeep Singh. Sandeep Singh wants to know about the 489 after the case officer is allocated and the documentation has been sent. Sandeep, as Nirav had discussed this again earlier, it doesn't matter, even if the case officer is allocated, it's still taking around about 7 to 8 months for that application to be processed. So you possibly will be looking at that time frame.
Yeah, so next question is from Sikandar Mirza, and he's asking us about like same points requirements for an accountant. Like he lodged his EOI on 21st of August 2018 with 80 points. As Tanvi said, that like the waiting time or the last invitation has given up to 25th of May 2018. So you might need to wait for like 3 or 4 more invitation round before you get the invitation based on current scenario, until if they invite more applicants in there.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so we've got a question from Chamira. Chamira wants to know what is the difference between non-pro rata and pro rata occupation. I know we use these terms a lot when we are actually talking about migration, and this is something that a lot of people get confused on. Now, non-pro rata and pro rata occupations, they actually, non-pro rata, in fact I should start with the pro rata occupations. There are 5 to 7 occupations which are there in the pro rata list, which includes accounting, auditing. Now, so ICT occupations are there, which includes the business analyst, systems analyst, then the network occupations are there, then software engineering and some other professional IT professionals are there. And then coming to engineering, we have electronics engineering, mechanical and industrial and production engineering, and some of the engineering other occupations like engineering technologist as well.
Yeah.
Are the pro rata occupations, whereas the rest of the occupations would be the non-pro rata occupations. Now, the difference would be that the non-pro rata occupations would have a standard point score which they'll be sitting at, which is 70 at the moment, and then the wait period would be more or less the same for most of those occupations, which is currently around 2.5 months. Whereas it differs for the pro rata occupations. Their point score can keep going up and down individually for that occupations. And then these occupations, the pro rata ones, are more in demand occupations. They're more popular occupations. A lot of people study those courses. So the seats are allocated according to the survey that the immigration does, which are more, I'd say they require more of those people.
Yes.
In the economy, for the economy in Australia. So in layman's term, pro rata occupations are the few occupations that I mentioned, and then the rest of the occupations are non-pro rata occupations.
Yeah, and like I would like to also say that like for the pro rata, it's like particularly about having a restriction on few occupations.
Yes.
Like if, for an example, if there are like 10,000 accountants in Australia for this year, they are graduating, they are applying for their PR, and they have seats for just like 4,000 as per their occupation ceiling. They just require might be around 4,000 or something like that. So they can't give an invitation to all those 10,000.
Correct.
While in the non-pro rata, there is no such restriction, because there are less applicants in those categories compared with the pro rata. So that is also one of the difference for the pro rata and the non-pro rata. So if your occupation in the pro rata, there might be more competition. Correct. In terms of that's the reason you require more points, and that was the reason like they restrict the occupation, all the applicants to give an invitation, and that increased total points. So yes. That is why accounting points is like around 80 at the moment.
Yes. So aim at higher point score, you would not go wrong.
Yeah. So next question like we are having from Nabin Shrestha. So she's asking us about studying in college or studying in university. Does it make any difference for the permanent residency or not? So I think it's not make any difference, because ultimately immigration required that if you're claiming points for your master in Australia, that must be CRICO's registered course. So CRICO's registered course for the university or for the college, it must be same. You know, so as long as if you're meeting the 2 year study requirement of 92 weeks or 16 calendar months, even in the college, you can still claim the points, because ultimately your occupation will remain same even after studying college or even after studying in university. So it will not make any difference in terms of migration.
Correct. So the next question is from
Vanismith
Thapa. They want to know how about in Cert 3 in Kukri. They've finished that, and what would be the options? So Cert 3, if you finish Cert 3 in Kukri, that would possibly qualify you for the occupation of cook. And then you can still do the job ready program if you have the 485.
Yeah, but for the certificate 3, you know, they can only apply for like as a cook. So if you have done certificate 3, then there will be a less option available.
Absolutely.
So it's better for
so it's better that you do Cert 4 and then because cook is as an occupation is not there in the MLTS, the long term list. So you'll have less options. By what that means is that you'll only be looking at some states or regions as an option, and then they might ask you to have some experience before they would be looking to nominate you. So if you have a chance and if you have an option to study certificate 4, go for it, because as it is, by completing Cert 3 you would not be able to apply for the 485 visa. You would have to have the Cert 4 and diploma done to apply for 485. But if you've done Cert 3 during your TR just to build another occupation, I'd suggest if you have a chance, then go for Cert 3. Otherwise, most definitely cook option is there for you, and then you can do the skill assessment on that as well. So
yeah, so next question we are having from Sunita Chaudhary. She's asking us about like applying for the 482 visa for the child care worker. So actually there is only one option available, which will be like child care center manager. So based on that you can apply for the 482 visa, but the 482 visa required you to have 2 years of full-time experience after your study. So if you studied for the child care here for the diploma of early childhood or something, then you can get the TR for 18 months. So even if you work for 18 months on the TR, you will not able to be apply for the TSS visa, because you will not have 2 years full-time experience. So that will be very less chance to apply for the 482 visa. But it's better for you to do the job ready program and then apply for the general skill migration visa as a child care center manager compared to the TSS visa.
That's right. So so let's just take this question and we'll have a little bit of talk about probably nursing.
Yes.
Yep. So the next question says, how long is it taking for 190 New South Wales? Well, the way things are going at the moment, 189 is kind of coming in quicker than the 190 New South Wales. Because they are being very selective, and then they are only inviting the merits candidates. That means you need to have really high points. So if your occupation is sitting at 70 and you have 70, then you probably are looking at a few months of wait. But if you have 5 points higher than what your 189 score should be, then probably in a couple of months as well, if they can get invited. So the higher score, the better it is. But then 189 is possibly coming in quicker than 190 at this stage, if we look at it points wise. So Nirav, let's just have a break from the questions. Let's discuss about nursing. There are a lot of people who are doing nursing or who are planning on studying nursing. Let's start with the eligibility. What should they be looking at initially?
So initially, when they plan to think of studying nursing, like there are a few applicants, or like most of the applicants might confuse, like they should study diploma of nursing or bachelor of nursing or a master of nursing.
Yes.
So in the nursing, there are major 2 occupations, like enrolled nurse and the registered nurse. So for the enrolled nurse, if you have studied in diploma of nursing, you can get the skill assessment as an enrolled nurse, and that occupation is in the short-term skilled occupation list. So there might be less options available for the enrolled nurse, because it is currently available in one region in New South Wales for the 489. Apart from that, it might be difficult to get the invitation for the enrolled nurse. So it's better for you to complete your bachelor or master in nursing, so you can get the skill assessment as a registered nurse. There are different specialization as well, like in aged care, in mental health, and surgical for the registered nurse. And for 189 skill independent visa also you can apply, because those occupations are in the medium and long term skill strategic list. So you can get the invitation with the 70 points. But here I would also suggest, Tanvi, if you can share a few details about the applicants, who are applying from the offshore. what hurdles actually they face, and what is the situation at the moment if they want to apply from offshore, and what they first need to do, what first process they need to start if they're applying from outside of Australia.
Yes, so that's one of the things that so I'll talk about. Let me give you an example about India. Now there is a qualification which is called GNM over there. A lot of people they study GNM and then they register themselves and then they start practicing as a nurse. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 years of experience, and even more sometimes. After doing GNM, you can probably start working over there. Now GNM basically means that you've done a diploma of nursing. Now, as Nirav discussed, enrolled nurse and registered nurse. Now, enrolled nurse is an occupation which you can actually register for after completing a diploma. Having said that, the offshore diploma does not qualify you for that
For the enrolled nurse, yes.
So, if you have done the GNM or the diploma of nursing, then you possibly will have to study your bachelor, or else you'll have to come here and then further pursue your diploma once again to be able to qualify for enrolled nurse. Now, you obviously are looking at least 7 each, which you need to have in PT, IELTS, OET. They give you a little bit of a relaxation on that score. You can score 7 each in 2 different attempts. Like, yes, you don't have to have them all in one go. You can have 7 each in 2 different attempts, but then they have to be within the 6 months of gap from each other. If you have that, then you obviously have an option of getting yourself registered as a registered nurse. But having said that, if you've studied from offshore, let's assume if you've done Bachelor of Nursing from offshore, then you are required to come here and study a bridging program, which is also commonly called the IRON program. Now that used to be a 3 months program, which people used to usually come on a visitor visa, and then they do their after their invitation from AFRA and then getting enrolled for the IRON program, they used to come here on a visitor visa, study for 3 months, and then eventually probably go back and then apply for the skill assessment and then get the process started. At the moment that IRON program is on hold, they are probably restructuring the program. We don't know how it's going to come out. They possibly might increase the time. They might include some additional content or some modules which have been taken out earlier or which were not included. Now that is possibly closed until January or February next year. So you'll have to wait a bit. But having said that, there's no harm in coming here and starting studying. If you think that you do not have a bachelor, then you most definitely can apply for diploma to degree, or else straight away to the bachelor's of nursing from offshore and come here and study.
Yes, thanks, Tanvi. And as you said that about they accept 2 sittings for the English language test as well, for the registration. We should also share with them that is for the registration, but for the immigration purpose,
yes,
they do not accept 1 sitting.
Correct.
But there is only exam which is OET. OET is acceptable multiple times for the immigration purpose as well. So if you have got your score in the OET B, which is equivalent to 7 in IELTS, so that's proficient English, or OET A, which is superior English, having 20 points as a superior English. So you can combine your course in different exam, and all those exams must be in last 3 years. So they can claim directly 10 or 20 points by combining those exams, because there are so many students who are struggling with even PT,
yes,
or IELTS or the TOEFL, because they must need to get their score in 1 sitting only. While for the OET, they can try for multiple times, as long as they get their all modules A or B score in last 3 years, that is acceptable.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Nirav, if you remember, I was talking to you about this applicant who was studying diploma of nursing during her TR. Now, for a lot of you who are in occupations with the higher score like accounting or auditing, you must have heard it from your migration agents or from us or from somebody that it's better that you study nursing, because nursing is one of the occupations is there in the list. You can study your diploma of nursing during your TR and you'll qualify for enrolled nurse. Now there is one catch here, and then the catch is that the course that you study, the college and institute that you study, should be registered with AFRA. That means that course should have been accepted by AFRA for the registration, because
it must be accredited.
Accredited, exactly, that's the word. If it's not accredited by them, then you pretty much wasted that time, and you pretty much wasted that money that you've spent on that course. There is also a chance that you might not even get any exemptions or credit for all those subjects that you had studied, even if you go for bachelor's. So please make sure that you actually see a consultant, an education consultant, and at least try and get the list of colleges, and if not, at least call AFRA and then confirm if your college is accepted, the course is accepted or not, before starting the diploma or Bachelor of Nursing that you're, in fact diploma is the mainly one that you would have to look for in this situation. Anything else that we have to add?
I would like to say one thing as well for the skill assessment for nursing. Because when you see the skill assessment requirement for the nursing through NMAT, they require that if you have studied overseas and if you are applying for the skill assessment, they say on their website that you must need to have like 6 months of experience as a registered nurse or like as in your field. So there might be like a few applicants as well, like who are not having an experience because they just recently graduate, they applied for their registration and they didn't work because they just got their registration, and if they want to apply for the skill assessment, they can actually still do that, you know, because that requirement is actually mentioned on the website, but it is not a mandatory requirement. So if you don't have an experience, then we can submit the statutory declaration that we didn't work in like our career as a staff nurse after getting registration or something like that, you know. So that stat deck actually work as an alternative of having a 6 months experience as a staff nurse. So this is like, you might not get an information like online or anywhere, because if you check on their website, they like clearly mention that you must need to have a 6 months experience. But that's like if you come to an expert or someone like to any migration agent, they can guide you on that, because there might be few applicants as well who say that just get 6 months experience, wait for it, then apply for registration, then apply for the assessment. So that is why you require like an expert advice to get skill assessment or get a registration here.
Exactly, because you know, since we deal with the cases on a daily basis, so we have gone through all these instances where people have had experience and some not have experiences. So, and same is the case for other migration agents as well. So that is that is always good to have an expert advice before you actually jump into thinking something or plan your career or PR. What else? Do we have anything else to add for nursing, or shall we move on to the questions?
I think we should move on, because nursing we have covered almost all the like for the registration, for skill assessment, for independent visas, for GNM. So it's like we should start with the questions, because there might be a few people waiting.
Correct. All right, let's move on to the question now. Again, I've got a question now. Archie is asking, what about accounting in New South Wales 190? Archie, we've discussed this earlier as well. Now, accounting, you have to have at least 80 points, no matter if it's 190 New South Wales or if it's 189. Probably at 189 at the moment, they're inviting you with the 80 point score in about 3 months or so. New South Wales is taking their time, they're choosing the applicants, but try and aim for 85. If you have 85, way to go, you will have options available for sure.
Yeah, so we are attending the next question from Sam Mayo. He's asking us about like requirements for getting admission in nursing. So it depends on which colleges or which university you are applying and what level of course you are applying. So if you are applying for the diploma of nursing, that might be different requirement. If you are applying for the master of nursing or bachelor of nursing, that might be different requirements. But usually they require that you should have higher English. And if you are applying for a master of nursing, then you should have a relevant study as well in your bachelor. And if you're applying for the Bachelor of Nursing, then they require that you must have studied your schooling in medical fields or something like that. So if you want to enroll in nursing, then it's better if you come here. So our education team can guide you for for enrollment in nursing qualification.
Yes, actually, Nirav, yesterday only I was actually speaking to our education staff regarding nursing for one of the applicants. What they've advised me is that for diploma, they've specifically mentioned that the requirement for English is 7 each, whereas for bachelor, there are a few colleges that are still accepting 6.5.
So that's actually
so
good
that's
for,
good.
Yeah, it's better to go for bachelor.
Exactly, and that's an occupation that is going to qualify you for 189 anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Moving on to Amit's question, how long is it going to be for the nomination of New South Wales? I've already got the EOI. I mean, it's a very, you have to be very specific first off regarding the occupation and the point score. But generally speaking, New South Wales is taking its time. If your points, you're having 5 points more than 189, then you probably you should be getting an invitation in a month or two. But if not, then you probably will have to wait a few months for that.
Yeah, but I think I think it's thinking. It seems that like he already got the invitation from the state.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
so
got
he
already
applied for
EOI.
the nomination. So the nomination process takes about 12 weeks
12
of
weeks
time
of-
to
yeah.
get the invitation. Sometimes it might be quicker as well. And if your visa is expiring very soon or something, you can inform that as well, and they can
Expedite
invite
that.
on the priority basis.
Correct.
Yeah. So next question, like we are having from Aussizz Sam, and like the question is that it's for the Master of Teaching in Adelaide and the peer opportunity. And definitely, actually, teaching is good for in all the states, as we already mentioned. But studying in the regional area will benefit you more, because that will give you an extra points as well. And the state sponsor will be easier compared to the non-regional areas or non-regional states. So it's better for you to study Master of Teaching in Adelaide. That can give you state sponsorship, and that can give you extra 5 points as well for the regional study.
Absolutely. Hussain Arshad wants to know about Bachelor of Early Childhood. I think we've already discussed
Answered that
in
one,
the
yes,
session.
yeah.
So the next one we've got Pratiksha Thapa.
Yes.
Thapa. They want to know, what about the possibilities of MPA with 80 points? How long will they have to wait? If you have 80 points, Pratiksha, 189 at the moment has a wait of about 3 months, 3.5 months.
Yes. So Amit Nehra's question, I think that's we already answered just now. So next we are having it from G1. He's like he did IT bachelor qualification overseas, and he's currently doing MBA, and he has 3 years of experience as a software engineer. So he would like to get a skill assessment as a network engineer most likely. So if you have work experience as a software engineer, then and if you have studied overseas, particularly Bachelor of IT, then you can get a skill assessment as a software engineer, because ACS skill assessment requires that you must have Bachelor or Master, and after that you must need to have 2 years of experience related to your occupation. So here you must need to combine your study and your experience together to get a skill assessment. Yeah. So in your case, you did Bachelor of IT, which might be generic, but your experience is specific in software engineering. So you can get a skill assessment as a software engineer, but not as a network engineer, because network engineer is a different occupation and it requires different duties. So in your case, you're not able to get a skill assessment as a network engineer.
That's right. So, all right. So moving on. Thank you, Nirav. The next one we've got is any update on ACT state nomination. We've already discussed that, touched about it, but then touched that topic. But at the moment, they're still talking about that. They haven't changed anything yet. The closed occupations are still closed, and then the trade occupations and all the occupations which are in the open list still have an option over there. So you may as well have to wait if you're accounting IT applicants. Possibly a few more weeks. Hopefully we'll hear from them soon, but we'll share that with you as soon as we get any update regarding that.
Yeah, so Kamal is asking us about what are the points requirement for the SAFE for the 489. So 489 regional sponsorship actually available in New South Wales for the SAFE occupations, and all of that regions require having the 55 points individually, and they can give you 10 points from their side. But there might be a different or additional requirements for the particular regional areas, because few regional areas require that they need to have 2 years of full-time experience, few require 2.5 years of experience, or some of the regional areas they just require 1 year, or they don't require as well. So if you have 55 points, you can get the invitation. And we already told you earlier as well, for the Northern Inland and for the Riverina, they just removed SAF application, and Orana is also closed at the moment for the SAF. So there might be a less chance if you're thinking that I should apply or not. It's better to apply as soon as possible if it's available in any regional area, so that you can get the invitation and apply for the 489 based on that.
Correct. So Tarun wants to know, what are the chances of telecommunication? So telecom engineering, I'm assuming you're saying, with 70 points, EOI submitted September. So Tarun, if it was September this year, 70 points is a good score to be sitting at. That's what all the non-pro rata occupations, which telecommunication engineer is as well, they are sitting at, with a wait period of about 2.5 months or so. But I'd advise you, I'd suggest you to try and increase your score, probably 5 points from NATI, 5 points from, if you can possibly do PY. PY probably is going to take you a little longer, but maybe NATI, maybe try and score higher in PT. If you have 5-10 points higher, then you probably will get invited in October for sure.
The next question from Sunil is like similar to Tarun's question. So like he studied Bachelor of Telecommunication Engineering overseas, and he's doing Master in IT here in Australia. So as Tanvi said that like if you have a 70 points as a telecom engineer after studying here or studying overseas, you can get the invitation within 2 months of time. And if you can't get the enough points, then you might need to think about applying for the different regional or the state sponsorship. If you can't get a skill assessment as a telecom engineer, Sunil actually has other extra option available as an IT graduate as well. So if he do the professional year or like having a 1 year of experience here, can give him another option to apply for the PR as an IT applicant.
Yeah, that's right. So probably I'd say if he's got 485, maybe he should do his PY in IT, so that at least his other options
will be there.
Yeah. So Kunal Kamboj wants to ask how many points a chef needs for 489. So Kunal, for 489 usually you require only 55 points. Now the region is going to give you 10 points to bring your score up to 65, which is the minimum required by the immigration. However, there are some regions which would specify that you need a higher score. But anyway, at this stage, there are very limited options available for 489 chef, as we've discussed earlier during the session. A lot of regions have closed those occupations. So probably try and aim for 55 a minimum and try and score higher so that you also have your 189 options open for yourself.
Yeah, so next question we are having is from Harshad Ahir, and he's asking us that like he already studied few subjects or maybe some courses before in Northern Territory, and now he's planning to take another master over there for 1 year. So if he get an exemption in the master like for 1 year, and if he complete his master in only 1 year, then I think he will not be eligible for the Northern Territory state sponsorship, because what is the main purpose of the state sponsorship application? So state sponsor required that you must need to go there, study there, live there, and they will get one skilled applicant over there. So then their main purpose is for attracting the migrants over there who can stay there for a longer period. So if you have spent like 1 year to finish 2 years master, they will not invite you for the like 190 or the 489 applicants maybe. But let's say if you have 2 years of master and out of 2 years, like there are 16 subjects, and out of 16 subjects, if you get 2 or 3 subjects exemption, but still you're finishing in 2 years, that's all right. But if you're taking the exemption for whole 1 year, that will not help you to get the invitation, because that will not show your commitment to the state. So that is one of the main things to get an invitation from the from any state sponsor available in Australia.
I think it's he's followed it with this second.
Yeah, I think it's the same
pretty
question.
Much the same thing. So Nirav, the next ones this is people are lot doing this course a lot now. Masters of Health Administration. I think as my understanding is mainly there are very limited options open, but then they have I think manager of
primary health organization, manager, health promotion officer, but that required you to have 1 year of experience after your study, and it's not that easy to get an experience straight away to the managerial level. So we can't say that you change your career or something. It depends. If you are planning to change your career to something else, if you're not willing to study this, then opt for another course. Otherwise, if you still want to stick with this option, then study this one. And if you can't get a job here, try to go overseas. And even on TR, if you go overseas, work 1 year over there, that can help you to get a skill assessment as well, and you can apply for the PR based on that.
And moreover, this is masters, so I'm hoping that your bachelors can probably have another option open for you. So you may as well want to have your profile assessed completely from whatever you've done from your bachelors and onwards. There might be another pathway open for you. But absolutely, as Nirav suggested, this is one thing people don't really realize. They want to spend the 2-year TR period throughout 2 years. They want to stay here. But there are a lot of occupations, especially when it comes to vet assess as the assessing body. They require you to have at least 1 year of experience. Now, that 1 year, if you are getting a job in your home country, it may as well be worth it to go back, have that 1 year experience, come back and eventually get your occupation assessed. Because being a fresher here and being on a temporary visa, there are a lot of times that people are they're struggling to find a job in their relevant field. And then as they would know, 2 years passes and then they probably are looking for another student visa option. So I think rather than that, you actually gave a very good option that people should go offshore
get if they have a chance. Over there,
Exactly. They should definitely go for that.
Yeah, so next question we are having is from Ghosh Nishan Singh. He's asking us about like nursing, best of nursing from India. So he's saying that it's better to come here to study iron course, which course he can choose up if he don't get the iron course. So actually, as Tanvi said, that like they currently put it on hold for iron enrollment and all that. So there might be good option for you to get directly a 489 resident sponsorship from overseas. So it's better for you to wait until they come up with a new course for the nursing category, so that you can get a skill assessment, apply for the resident sponsorship or the PR directly from over there instead of coming here to study. Because even after coming here for the study, the option will remain same.
Exactly.
It will just exempt you to do the iron program.
That's right.
But it's better just wait for a few months or something until they come up with a new course for the nursing people.
Yeah, possibly about January or February,
Yes.
as we've been informed that they may come out with the new requirements or the new structure. So Mifran Mifi wants to know. It's been 16 months since I have lodged my 187 RSMS. Haven't heard anything from department yet. Please advise. Now, the thing is, I was actually thinking that nobody has asked any question regarding RSMS so far. Mifran, there are a lot of people who are in the same boat as you. I've seen cases where they have been about 20, 25, 26 months and they are still waiting the decision. So it depends upon your occupation. It depends upon the region, and then sometimes what happens is that your migration agent hasn't uploaded enough documents. So I'd suggest, if you're waiting, ask your migration agent to maybe upload another lot of documents, such as the new tax statements, BAS and everything. And then just to give them an idea that you are still working there, and then the business still needs you, and then the progression that they're having with you. Now, technically, what has been happening is that as soon as people were getting their employer-sponsored visa, now they were getting that on the basis that they were being hired by the employer for another 2 years. But a lot of times we had seen that the people, once they got their PR, they actually left the employer, didn't bother completing their 2-year contract, and then the immigration had to chase them up. So what they've decided to do is they tried to see whether or not it's a genuine occupation, genuine employment. That is why they're doing a lot of I'd say digging in this situation. So you probably will have to wait a little longer, but make sure that you ask your migration agent to request for an update, or else upload another lot of documents in that situation.
Yes, so we are going to answer the questions for Perry Mukha. He said that how many points required for the trade occupation. So I think his main question is about like having a 189 skill independent visa in his mind. So you need to have minimum 65 points to be eligible for that visa category. But currently immigration is inviting at 70 points as it comes under non-product occupations. So if you have a 70 points, you can get the invitation like in 3 months of time for the 189 visa. But if you don't have that many points, then you need to opt for another option like state nomination or the regional sponsorship, because most of the trade occupations are sponsored by the regional in New Southwest. But still, as we stated earlier as well, that you must need to meet the additional requirements before applying for the state or any regional application.
Okay, now a lot of trade questions coming in.
Yes.
I've got one for South Australia now. The question states that they're saying that when South Australia asks a graduate with a skill job for the last 3 months, what does that mean? And any occupation such as Uber driver or one of their lists. Usually, see, there are some states which will accept Uber driving as one of the qualifying jobs, but then that's a different category. With South Australia, what happens is, depending on which occupation list your occupation falls under, if it falls under the long list or the list in demand that particular for South Australia, you can actually pick and choose and work in any of the occupations from that list. Whereas when it comes to the occupations which are in the, what is that list called? The secondary list?
Yeah, state nominated secondary
supplementary list. Then you would have to have you have to work in your own employment, in your own occupation. Now, when it comes to 3 months, it's usually if you're working in the regional area. If you're working in Adelaide itself, the metro Adelaide, you're required to work for longer. And I think 3 months is mainly for the trade occupations, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's like 3 months requirement is if your occupation is in the state nominated list, then you can work in almost any field. It's not necessary to work in the nominated occupations.
Yes.
but it should be at a skill level. It should not be at like very below level of occupation. So let's say if you get a skill assessment as a software engineer or something like that, but if you're working as a cleaner, then they might not accept it, But working as a kitchen assistant, hairdresser, or cafe restaurant manager, those kind of jobs still considered as a skilled experience.
Yes, correct. So as long as those jobs require skills, so it's if basically what they mean is that the job should require some skills, and then something like a McDonald's fry cook or something which.
From Gaurav Aneja, he's asking us about for the extension of interest, date of effect. No, I think that's different questions.
Gaurav Aneja is saying, what should we do if you've applied any visa and the case officer
has not appointed? That happens actually because sometimes what happens if you apply for the visa and if you have submitted all the documents, then the case officer might not appointed. We can't assume that it's not appointed. They might be assessing your application and background, but you're not aware about that because you already submitted all the documents. They are verifying everything before making any decision. Because for some of the cases, what happens, if you have not submitted 1 or 2 documents, then you get a request from the officer.
Correct.
Then you got to know that you got a case officer, your application is open. But as we know that we usually lodge an application which is submit to radio, we submit all the documents at the same time for most of the application. So the case officer do not assign, but still they get longer time to get the visa as well.
That's right, correct. So I think for you it's probably a matter of waiting. Just wait.
Yes.
So Gaurav Pathak wants to know, I'm an MPA student and my course will start in November. I've heard that accounting is very tough to get PR. Well, it's not tough to get PR, Gaurav. It's just very competitive. You have to have high point score. If you think you can manage to score 8 each, if you can manage to do professional year, if you can probably manage to do NATI as well, then most definitely go for it. It's still in demand occupation, still pro rata occupation, but definitely you'll be targeting at 80 points or higher if you're looking to get PR here in accounting, unless you want to move to the state area, regional areas.
Yeah, so next question we are having is from Harshad Ahir again. I think he said that he studied MBA marketing back in India. He was working as in software firm as a business analyst. So he's saying that he can get a skill assessment or nominate his occupation as business analyst or not. So business analyst occupation is particularly for the IT graduates. So if you didn't study in IT specifically for the business analyst related studies, then they require you to have around 6 years of experience, and based on the recognized prior learning category in the ACS, if you have done 2 projects during your experience, then you can get a skill assessment as ICT business analyst. So based on your MBA and having 2 years of experience, you're not able to get a skill assessment. So you must need to have 6 years of experience. You can only have 2 years of experience if you have studied something in IT here or overseas.
Yes, that's right. I think for MBA marketing, for that matter, if you've got experience, then probably marketing manager, marketing specialist could be options which is available in some states. Okay, Perry wants to know, can we do the trade course on the TR with private college? Will that be counted or only TAFE? Perry, as long as you've completed the course, now this does not require you to have, you don't have to have held a COE or anything for that matter, as long as your Cert 3 is, depending on what trade it is for that matter, but it should be fine. You don't necessarily have to do it through a TAFE, you can do it through a college as well to qualify for the trade occupation doing your TR.
Yes, so the next question is we are having from Vinod. He actually asked earlier about his skill assessment. Now he's saying that if he has studied something else and if he gets a skill experience as an admin staff here, then he can get a skill assessment through Aussizz or not. So actually it depends on your study, what you have done here or overseas and what experience you're getting it. So if you've studied in IT and if you're just getting an experience as an admin staff here, then that doesn't count as a skilled experience. So it's not related to your nominated occupations. So that is a lower level occupation experience you are having for next 1 year. So that will not help you to get an extra 5 points, or it will not also help you to get a skill assessment. So it's better for you to get an experience which is related to your study and which is in the medium and long-term skill strategic list.
Yes. Vinod, I think, did you answer Vinod's question? He's saying that
Yeah, that's we already discussed. Yeah, we need to go for the Gaurav.
Gaurav. Okay, Gaurav again, MPA. He's saying if I don't have 80 points or if I can't get 8 each, then what are my options? Gaurav, then I'd suggest if you want to continue studying accounting, then I would not discourage you from doing that, but I'd suggest try and do that either in Northern Territory or in Tasmania, because that way you'll open an option for the state nomination, and then you definitely will get some additional points for studying in the regional area as well. So that could be an option, or else if you want, you can have a parallel study, but then it depends individually depending on your college, your course. So I suggest maybe it's better that you see a migration agent so that we can advise you about this in detail if you want to assess that further.
Yeah, so next question I think we are having from Meg, and like she's asking us about she should wait for any updates from NMBA in the first quarter of 2019 before filing for the APRA. So I think she's worried about getting registration in nursing. So if you're eligible for the getting the registration, then I would not suggest you to wait until there'll be any update from the Nursing and Midwifery Board in Australia. It's better for you to apply for the registration as soon as possible and get the registration, so you can get a skill assessment through NMEC as well, and that can help you to apply for the permanent residency at later stage. And at least after getting your registration, you can start to work in your field, so you can start your career, and that can also help to get an experience points as well later on.
Correct. So I think Vinod's the same. He's asking about health administration, masters in health administration course. He's saying only needed managerial course. See, health, as we discussed earlier, masters of health administration does not have too many occupations coming out, and moreover you need to have experience to get it assessed. Then yes, absolutely, managerial would be an option that you would be looking at to get an experience. If you get like we discussed earlier, if you get an option to work in that similar occupation back in your home country during your TR period, most definitely go for that option so that you can eventually get yourself assessed.
Yeah, so Perry is asking us about what are the requirements or what is the process to get a skill assessment for Bachelor of Nursing if someone has studied from overseas. So as we already discussed earlier as well, let's say if you have studied overseas for Bachelor of Nursing, then you first need to get a registration from APRA as a registered nurse, so that you can apply for the skill assessment as well based on that. But before getting a registration, the APRA will require you to have IN program course as well for at least 3 months, so that that can give you registration, and after that you can apply for the skill assessment with just having a registration in Australia and with your study, and they will also ask for the certificate of good standing as well from your overseas registration authority. So it will be an easier process once you get a registration here. And as we already discussed earlier as well, that if you don't have a 6 months experience, then we can provide them a stat tech as well to have that, like you didn't work in their career at all as a registered nurse.
Correct. I think we're having a little bit of a trouble with the light. Probably might have to turn that one off. Thank you. All right, let's move on. So I think you answered Perry's question.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Suraj wants to ask, I've applied for an EOI in July, but I've updated the highest points EOI in the mid of August to 80. When will I be getting an invitation? So August, if it was August, probably about December or so, we should hope to get invited for this particular case, if things go the same way.
Yeah, so next question is we are having from Gaurav. He's asking us about scope for a cook in New South Wales, with 3 years of paid experience in Indian restaurant. So if you have 3 years of full-time experience as a cook, you can apply for the 489 regional sponsorship if it's available in the New South Wales regional area, because at this stage it's not available in the New South Wales as they recently closed for a cook for the few of the regions. If the Orana reopen it again with a cook, and if you meet the requirement, you can definitely apply. But if you already have 3 years of full-time experience, then you can apply for the TSS, which is Employer Temporary Activity Visa. But that will be for the short term, for the 2 years. But if you get a sponsor in the regional area, then you might apply for the RSMS visa that can lead you to your permanent residency, and you can also work in the regional area with the employer over there.
So Nirav, just very quickly regarding this, like we've had questions regarding trade and assessment and all of that. I think not a lot of people know that there is another way of getting skills assessment in the trade qualifications.
So that's actually a good question, Tanvi, because most of the students or most of the applicants think in a way that they should do a job ready program to get a skill assessment, which require them to follow 4 steps and work 1 year with an Australian employer and do a practical test, and then you get the skill assessment. But there is other side as well. Let's say, because there are a few of the applicants who might have worked here as well full time on the employer sponsored visas, or some might have worked overseas as well for a longer period. So if you have worked for at least 3 years full time in your trade occupations, then you can get a skill assessment through trade recognition in Australia. And for few of the occupations, like they require that that must be assessed through authorities like Wet Assessed and William English. They require that once you submit their application, they will assess your documents, then they will call for an interview, or they may call over the phone or do the Skype interview. And they can ask just a technical question, which you're already doing it from last 3 years. So in this way, you don't need to complete whole job ready program. So you can get a skill assessment straight away, and that can actually help you to apply for the permanent residency earlier than just wait for the job ready program for 1 year.
Yes, that's right. So if you've got a situation where you've already been working on, let's say 457 or any other employers, like 482, it's very fresh. So possibly 457 visa for 3 years or longer, or even if you have experience from back home. Now there are some eligibilities that we'll have to see whether or not your passport and then qualification matches with the assessment program or not. But there is a possibility that you might not have to go for the job ready program for assessment, as Nirav just mentioned. So let's just take one more question, Nirav, and I think we'll probably complete this session with this last question, final question. The next question is
from Gaganpreet Kaur, and like she's asking us about studying a Master of IT in South Australia. So is it compulsory to do a professional year? So actually studying in a regional area is nothing to do with the professional year, because professional is not required to get an extra points. It's just required to have meet the requirement for the skill assessment, which is mandatory to have it to apply for the permanent residency. So Australian Computer Society require that if you complete your Master of IT here or Bachelor of IT, then you must need to have a professional year or 1 year of experience. So sometimes the fresh graduates might find it difficult to get a job straight away after finishing their study. So it's better for them to start a professional year, and meantime they can look for the job as well. So that can actually help them to get extra 5 points as well with the job and with the professional year. So, and that can meet the requirements, like mandatory requirements of having the skill assessment in IT graduates. So it's better for you to do the professional year. Doesn't matter you're studying in South Australia or in Victoria, because that can help you to get a skill assessment.
Yes. So I hope that this session has been informative for you. We tried to answer as many questions that we could possibly get. We will please don't forget to share this video, like it, and then try and send us questions through comments or through our Facebook page. We'll be answering all the questions that haven't been answered in this session so far. We will come back with another session next week as well. But just to remind you one more time, as Nirav had mentioned earlier, we've got a seminar at the Melbourne CBD branch here tomorrow. And that's specifically focused on teaching occupation. So I'd welcome you all to join us, and then try and get all your questions or answers resolved. Any confusions that you have, we'll have the education consultants there to answer all your admission questions, and we'll also be there as well. Myself and Neera would be there for all your migration queries. We'll be happy to assist you thereafter, and we'll see you tomorrow then. For now, thank you.
Thank you.